Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Industrial Real Estate Show, and I'm pleased to be joined by a requested guest after the first episode was so successful. He's been requested numerous times, Benjamin Dennehy, the UK's most hated sales trainer. Benjamin, thanks so much for joining me again.
Well, I'm surprised I was asked to come back. Normally I get told to fuck off. So it's surprising that your audience likes my stuff. But I'll take it. I'll take what I can get wherever I can get it.
It's surprising, actually. I've traveled a few times over the past year, and your name came up if I was in a conference or a meeting with other people. Your interview came up more than anyone else's, just for how much people enjoyed it. So you might have to go from being the most hated sales trainer to maybe the greatest of all time sales trainer.
We'll see. Well,
thanks so much for joining me. One of the questions that I did have come up, and I want to start with this before we dive a little bit deeper into some of the other techniques. I still hear from people that they're still reluctant or scared or timid to make the call. They said, we like the script that Benjamin presented. It makes a lot of sense. We're still afraid to make calls. What would be the pep talk, or is it just get out of the business if you can't do it?
The pep talk is suck it up, loser. That's the pep talk. What is the worst thing that can happen on a call? The absolute worst thing.
Someone hangs up.
People say hang up. There's one more step worse than that.
They yell at you.
This person's so irate with you that they manage to track down where you work and they phone your boss and they complain about you. That is the absolute worst thing that could ever happen on a cold call. And if your boss has said cold call and you haven't been a twat or rude, then you got nothing to fear. So no, you've got to pick up the phone. You've got to get over that. It's like walking across hot coals or something. Once you've done it once, it's a doddle after that. But suck it up.
I like it. That is a good message. Do you usually recommend to people that they block off certain times every day that they should just call no matter what, or is it call when you have time? What's this frequency that you recommend?
Well, like anything in life, to be successful at anything, you need consistency, right? So if you're going to lose weight, you have to go to the gym every day and maybe do half an hour. You can't go, I'll do Wednesday and then I'll maybe go Saturday and then I'll pop it on the month. It may work, but you're going to spend a lot longer achieving results. So consistency is best, depending on the role you're in. So say you work for yourself. I've worked for myself for a very long time. I've also worked in companies having to make cold calls. So if you work for yourself, I would set aside a couple of hours every morning. I used to telephone prospect between 8:30 a.m. and 10:30, Monday to Friday. And I did that because the earlier you call, the more likely you are to get a hold of a decision maker. Decision makers get in early. People that run businesses normally get in before the rest of the people. It's not a guarantee, but I know if a phone is ringing at 8:30 in a company and there's no one there but the boss, guess what they're going to do? They're going to answer it. That is the person I want to talk to. And I would always start off, look, you're going to hate me. It's 8:30 in the morning and this is already a sales call. Do you know how many MDs would say, I wish my guys were in the office at 8:30 making calls? But so, yes, a little bit often is the rule. What I say is never ever say, all right, I'm going to block off 4 hours and all I'm going to do Thursday afternoon is cold call. No, because after the first hour, you'll be so dejected that you'll end up not doing it. And then you'll end up only having done an hour for the week. So a little bit often. Yeah, and what I would do is I would set myself a target. And the rule was I wanted to talk to 5 decision makers a day. Yeah, so what I wanted to do was give my pitch 5 times. Now, they could get to the end of the pitch and say, nah, Benjamin, I don't have any of that. Fine, that's still 1. Yeah, if I get to the end of the pitch and say, actually, no, I do recognize that, carry on, that's 2. What I didn't want to do was get through and then I start my pitch and they hang up. That didn't count. Yeah, I had to finish it and have them say, no, I don't recognize it. So if I did 5 of those a day, that's 25 a week. That's 100 a month. Now, if I speak to 100 decision makers a month and get my pitch out, the odds of me not getting 10 to 15 meetings is pretty slim. So that was my target, 10 to 15 meetings a month. Now, once I've hit my 5, doesn't matter if I haven't got a meeting. I would still quit for the day. I didn't say to myself, you must get a meeting every day. No. 5 conversations. I know I'll have 25 this week. I know by the end of 25, I'm going to have 2 to 3 meetings. I could get 3 the next day because sometimes it's like that. One day you get nothing. The next day you get 3 meetings. The day after that you get 2 meetings. The day after that you get 1 meeting. Yeah, so the goal is a little bit often and know what you're doing. 5 conversations a day at decision maker level. But that was for me personally. You have to work out your personal number in order to achieve what you need to achieve. And obviously that's different if you work for a company that expects you to be on the phone all day, every day, because that's your job. Well, obviously you can't follow that process, but you still want to have a number of conversations a day that you measure, because that's what matters. Conversations, not dials, not talk time, not emails, conversations with decision makers. That's what matters.
And your objective is always to just get the meeting. You're not trying to close. You're not trying to get them to buy anything. Your objective is to actually just get a face-to-face meeting.
No, that is a potential outcome. Yeah, so whenever you ask a salesperson what's the purpose of prospecting, I say get a meeting, get an appointment, find pain, find need, or all of those are outcomes. They're not the purpose. So the purpose, what am I trying to do to a human being that's never spoken to me before, that has no idea about who I am or what I do? What am I trying to do to that human? I'm trying to do what all great advertisers do, trying to get them emotional. You see, people buy emotionally and then justify intellectually. So I'm phoning up a stranger. It's 8:30 in the morning. Maybe the boss has just got it. He's put his keys down. The phone rings. He answers. He's not thinking about what I do or what I fix. I've got a couple of minutes to try and get this guy to get to the end of the conversation. If I've done it well, to go, all right. Maybe you got something. And in that case, I get an appointment. But there's a process to get there. I don't just want to meet with someone for the sake of meeting. So a lot of salespeople beg their way into diaries. Look, I promise you, give me half an hour. I guarantee at the end of the half an hour, you're going to absolutely love what we do. I'm going to be in the neighborhood. So you're setting up meetings for the sake of meetings. And then you get in there and this guy says, I don't know why you're here. I told you on the phone, I'm not interested. Yeah. So I don't want to do that. My time's too precious. So the goal is to get someone emotional. My goal of 5 conversations. If I can get someone emotional in that, great. If I can't, fine. If I get an appointment, great, because I do need appointments, but my focus isn't the outcome. My focus is how I get to the outcome. That's what makes you professional.
Yeah, that's very profound, because you're right. There's a lot of people, and I've even had this myself, where someone will set a meeting with me and for whatever reason I agree to take it. And then when it comes up on my calendar, if I have anything coming up, I'm canceling that meeting right away. And I'm sure that's how a lot of decision makers are doing as well. So you're filling your calendar. If you do it just a meeting way of trying to get meetings, you're filling your calendar with people that don't even necessarily want to meet with you.
Exactly. And salespeople are human beings, and human beings have a unique way of finding a way to hit a target. So if you say to somebody, you need 180 minutes talk time, what behavior does that encourage? It encourages long, drawn-out, pointless conversations so they can hit their 180-minute mark. If you say to somebody, you need to make 300 dials, what do? They dial companies they don't even want to talk to or won't answer so they can tick the dial mark. Or if you say to them, you've got to get 20 meetings a week, what do? They beg their way into diaries to get the 20 meetings in. Half to 75% will drop out, but it doesn't matter because I hit the metric. Yeah? So most sales teams are encouraged through metrics to do poor behavior. You wouldn't say to every lawyer, you've got to win every case. So what do they start doing? Lying, cheating. Yeah? No, I don't want a lawyer that lies and cheats. I want one that does the job properly and wins because they're good. So if you create metrics that encourage behavior that's poor, you get poor outcomes. If you measure stuff that matters, how many people did you talk to today? Okay, so you've talked to 5, you didn't get a meeting. Okay, that's fine. Let's get to the end of the week. Did you have 25 conversations? Yes. Did you get any meetings? No. Okay. So what this tells me is it's not that you're not talking to decision makers, because you've done that. So either what you're saying or how you're saying it isn't working. So we can fix that. We then go back and listen to your calls. This is why you have it. Notice how you say this every time this happens? You got to stop doing it. So within a week, I can figure out how to help a salesperson. But if you're measuring vanity, talk time, meetings in the diary, dials, how do you get better from that? I made $60. I got no meetings. Make more dials. Great. That's not going to help me. Yeah? Most salespeople are like washing machines. They spin around going nowhere.
That's a perfect analogy. So when I reached out to you to set this up, but one of the things that I really wanted to get your thoughts on were calling owners. So very similar to UK, I'm sure, where there's real estate agents that work to sell houses or whatever it is on behalf of other people.
Yes.
My audience is more focused on warehousing and trying to call people that own warehouses or factories or whatever it is, but very similar mechanics on how it works. So with that in mind, let's say there's a scenario where someone's trying to sell or lease a property by themselves, and they probably get inundated with people calling them to try and get the listing, as it would be called over in North America. How could someone differentiate themselves when calling an owner trying to sell or lease a property themselves as a cold call?
Well, talk about putting me on the spot to come up with a solution to something I've literally just heard. I would want to understand a bit more, but again, I could use a templated answer, which I could give. And I've worked with real estate people in the United States, so I know what this is like. Not necessarily this particular line, but I help them develop a pitch. So if someone's trying to lease a commercial property, you've got to ask yourself, what are they probably experiencing? What are the frustrations they're going through right now if they haven't leased it? Because they're trying to do it themselves for a reason, maybe to save money, maybe because they've had a bad experience in the past with real estate agents. They could be, I don't know what they are yet. I'd have to spend time thinking of it. But what I do, I'd spend time thinking, why would somebody be wanting to do this themselves? And if they are doing it themselves, what's probably frustrating or pissing them off, or what pissed them off about realtors? So when I work with recruiters, one of the things I teach is you phone up and slag off recruiters. Yeah, and you talk about the miserable experience they've probably previously had with other recruiters. And they go, yes, I can recognize it. Then you can get into an actual proper conversation. So it would be something like, so I typically work with private landlords. Often they're trying to lease a commercial property. But if they're honest, they're struggling to get people to come and view the property. Others are worried that because they've never really negotiated these sort of leases, their fear is that maybe they could shortchange themselves. And a few tell me blah, 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 blah. So I'd figure out something like that going in. Yeah, and try and change it. Now, again, I'd have to trial and error this, so I'm not saying people watching this, that is the script. I don't know. I'd have to spend more time on it. But you've got to go in and distinguish yourself. If you just, hi, my name's BJ ABC Realty. We work with a lot of businesses in the area. We've helped. Yeah, that's what everybody else says. So if you want someone to engage with you, you have to sound different. You have to say something different. Now, it doesn't mean what I teach will work 100% of the time. I'd be a liar if I said it did. But what I know is if you sound like everybody else, if you act like everybody else, they're going to shut you down like everybody else. So you have to have a way of engaging them. But I would, if I was going to give a proper answer, I'd need to understand the space a bit more and dive a bit deeper into that. And I could figure out what to say. And then you trial and error it. But don't do what everyone else is doing. Listen to your colleagues and don't do it.
It's remarkable at how, even putting you on the spot, at how you came up with a couple of the push buttons there. Because you're right, it's typically they've had a bad experience with a realtor in the past, or they just feel that they can save money by not doing it themselves. Like anything, a commission is a fee, and if someone thinks that they can remove that fee, that's money in their pocket versus someone else's. And then the other one is probably they just don't even understand what's involved. So there's probably just a little bit of ignorance, I suppose, that they don't really see what an agent brings to the table. So yeah, I mean, you're kind of right on there with that.
Exactly. And what you can do is, one of the things, if you can get someone to a bit of a conversation, so the skill is getting someone talking, because once you get them talking, they give you more information, and you'll discover quickly maybe they don't know what they're doing. So that's when you use what I call presumptive questions, where you ask them a question assuming they're doing something or they're not doing something, and they have to correct you. The human mind is like that. So if you said to somebody, okay, so when you decided not to offer that particular part of the building, was that because of X? And they go, no. Oh, so why is it not? I don't know. I didn't even know X was an issue. Interesting. Well, when you spoke with friends who'd rented out properties with X, what did they say? I've not spoken to them. Interesting. So I can create doubt in people's mind, but I have to know the presumptive question. So this is where your knowledge of your market is important, because then you can ask them questions and they say, well, no, I've not thought of that. No, I didn't do that. No, I haven't done that. Oh, is that because that's not important? Well, no, I didn't know I had to do that. Well, what do you think will happen if you don't do it? Actually, I'm not giving it any thought. Okay. See, now I'm creating the doubt in their mind as to what they know, and that's a good salesman's job. I'm not here to convince you. I'm here for you to discover. You don't know what the hell you're doing.
Is that the emotion that you're going for in that situation? Is you're trying to get doubt?
Doubt primarily is what I'm after. So if someone says, I'm doing this myself, they're doing it because they believe they can do it. Now, what they don't realize is there's a lot more to this than just sticking up a sign saying, call me, right? But they think that's all you guys do because their experience is, well, all they fucking did was come and stick up a fucking sign, took some photos. Yeah. And so any idiot can do that. You don't need a license to do that, right? So I'll do it. But there's a lot of stuff that they don't see that you've done or a good one should have done. You might have had a crap one, right? But the good ones do a lot of stuff they don't see. So you can then turn all the stuff you do into questions and make them realize, well, no, I haven't done that, and I didn't consider that. Oh, when you went through the state Compton's office and you looked into the regulations surrounding how many... Why did you decide to go down this route? And they go, well, I've not even done that. Well, but you must have checked the regulations. No. I'm curious. Why have you not checked the... well, I didn't know you had to check the regulation. Well, who's advising you? Because you do realize if you don't follow that regulation, you could find yourselves... No, I didn't know that. Oh, well, it's probably not important. Yeah, so that's my job. Yeah, I know more than they do, but I'm not going to tell them it. I'm going to get them to figure it out through my questions.
So one of your famous openings now, which a lot of people know, would you use something like that when you're calling someone trying to sell by themselves?
Well, I get realtors are like recruitment agents and they're like FX traders. Everybody hates them. Yeah, right? Yeah. They're just, nobody likes them. You are at the bottom. I think real estate agents, journalists, politicians, so we're in the least trusted and liked category, right? So you can't make life worse for yourself, I say, as a salesman. So what you need to do is, because you're phoning, again, if you're phoning commercially, though, you're phoning commercially minded people. A little different when you're phoning someone at home selling a residential property. But again, because I'm talking to most likely a businessman, I go, look, I'll be upfront with you. If I told you this was a sales call by a realtor, would you chuck the phone out the window? Yeah, and if they say yes, you go, fine, I won't say that. I'm into estate management. Yeah, and then you get a little laugh. So if I get a little laugh, I've got a little leeway. Yeah, I'll be upfront. If I told you I was a real estate agent, would you hang up? Yes, fair enough. Well, I won't say that then. Yeah? So there are all these little ways to get people to chuckle and engage. Some will just shut you down because they're miserable gits and they've had a terrible, shitty day, right? I don't care. More people will resonate positively to those sorts of engagements than ones that won't. Yeah? So that's what I tell people to do. That's what I would do if I was doing real estate. I'd have some catchy way of getting in there. But I know people hate us. Yeah, so use that to your advantage. Yeah, it's not your Achilles heel; it's the thing you move forwards with.
I love it. It's such a good opening because I always think, like, would that work on me? And 100%, I would chuckle on that. So I think I told you I was a real estate agent. Would a little piece of you die? Yeah. And I used to do this with FX traders because they're hated. And when they started doing it, they made me make calls in front of them because, so I'm in a room full of traders and they said, you're going to get all these objections. And I said, fine, I'll be fine. So I get through to a finance director and I said, look, if I told you this was about FX, would a little piece of you die? And he goes, oh, yes. So rather than try to convince the guy of it, I said, well, look, before you hang up, can I ask one quick question? He goes, I said, why does everybody do that? And he goes, do you know how many calls like this? Now, he starts venting. Now, when you're venting, it's like a good vomit after a heavy night out, right? You feel so much better. So if you let a person vent, you know how many of these calls I get? It doesn't matter how many times I tell you I'm not interested. I already have a broker. I don't want to do it. But they just don't get it. I go, that must be frustrating. They go, well, yeah, it is. I go, well, look, if the next 30 seconds are different, will you hear me out? And so many of them said, well, you already sound different to the others, so go on then. Yeah, so that's all I just need to sound different. If you sound like every other vanilla real estate agent out there, with that cheesy Century 21 grin and your perfect-looking suit, and, oh, God, no wonder no one wants to talk to you. It's so true. You made a post, I believe it was on LinkedIn recently, or maybe it was a YouTube video, about how sales trainers should be able to make that call in front of people as opposed to just coming up with all this wishy-washy ideas that might work in a perfect situation. But and I completely agree, to be a sales trainer, you need to actually be able to do it. So and I know you've done it on a live podcast. Actually, you made a cold call.
Yeah, I'm doing live cold calling tomorrow on LinkedIn. I mean, I always do it.
So what's no fear on that? Like, it's because it's one thing to call as a salesman if you're in your office and you've got nothing to worry about. You're doing that live in front of an unlimited amount of people. No fear on that.
Nah, I don't care. Well, first of all, because I've done it. So I've given training days, and I remember this because I ended up working with a big recruitment firm for nearly just under a year. And on the first day of the training, we were chatting away, and there's about 30 people in the room, and the CEO of the company was there, and they said, "Would you be willing to make a call in front of us? Obviously, you've taught us what to do, but would you do it?" And my answer is, of course, I don't even fucking work here, so I can't even get in trouble if this goes bad, right? So what do I care? So I always say, yes, I'll make a call. And so, of course, whenever salespeople give you people to phone, they always choose the biggest pricks that they know. Yeah? This is what salespeople do. When the shoe is on the other foot, they think, finally! Finally, I get to watch someone else suffer. There's not a schadenfreude in the world of sales. They love watching other people fail because it makes them feel better. So they always give you the toughest people to phone. And I remember they obviously chose someone that they knew no one could ever get through to. The gatekeeper was absolutely diabolical. And I went in and I tried. And I'll be honest, this gatekeeper was good. I couldn't get past. And she said this and I said that, then she said that, I said that, and it didn't work, and I hung up. But the thing is, everyone started clapping, and it's like, well, they go, no, we set you up. She's an absolute no one of you. But I can't believe that you were able to do that in front of everybody. You did what you said, and you just kept going. And so the CEO said, this convinces me, right? And then I did it with them, with people less difficult, and it worked. So I will always do everything I teach. That's it. I'm not an academic trainer. And there's a lot of trainers out there that know the theory. And then you go, well, how would you apply that in my world? And I go, well, you're going to have to go away and figure that out. But you need to follow this sort of process. Whereas I say, I can figure it out. I'll know it. Give me a couple of minutes. Let me ask you a few questions. Let me understand a little bit. Because nothing's going to change. What I do won't change. All it's going to change is the substance of what I'm saying. And you're going to give me the substance. So I work with an engineering firm. They invited me in. There's only one other company in the world that makes their product, and it's $1 billion US company. And this is a £20 million turnover UK company. So they're going up against a $1 billion company. And they sell to the oil and gas industry. I don't know anything about the oil and gas industry, never worked in it, don't know anything about it. I'm not an engineer. And they said, we want to break into North America. And so I spent half a day with them, and I said, well, what the hell does this thing fix? And they gave me 3 things that it fixed, and we rattled through that. And I said, okay, well, I can make a phone call now. I said, okay. And so we phoned an oil refinery in British Columbia in Canada. I remember this. So because I knew I was phoning North America, they all have a bit of a love-like of the Brits, the English. Yeah, they have a romantic view. So as soon as this engineering director answered, I said, look, you're going to hate me. This is actually a sales call all the way from merry old England. And the guy started lying. He goes, no, I fucking love the Brits. Yeah, no, go on then. You know, stay your pee. So then I said, so we typically work with companies that use ABC's switch. However, a lot of them tell us they're frustrated that when they take the switch out of the packet, about 10% of the time they don't work. A few tell us what really pisses them off is that some of them are unable to go to the temperatures required, and as a result, water leaks in and it expands and breaks. Yeah, and then I said a few say their biggest issue is lead times. Often, to get these things delivered to them up in the field can take anywhere up to 3 months. I said, now, I bet you're going to tell me you don't recognize any of that. And this director says, I got all of them. I said, no, you can't have all of them. He goes, I do. I said, well, be here all day. You got to pick one. If you only pick one to eliminate, which would you pick? He'd go, lead time. And then we're off. At the end of it, I convinced him to take a sample. He even paid for the sample to be shipped to Canada. And I hung up the phone, and the CEO said, oh, my God. You've only been here half a day, yet you've made a call that you're not even engineering. You talked to the guy for 2 minutes. All I did was ask him questions. I don't need to know anything about engineering, but I know the types of questions to ask to get someone talking. And he said, I've never sold a sample before. I go, well, now you know what to do. They went on to become a client because when you've only got one company in the world selling you a product and they have a monopoly, customer service is shit. So it's not hard to steal from them if you get good at getting in front of them. So I do this all the time. So I'm not afraid to do it.
Yeah. How did you know in that a specific example that you had reached the objective of creating an emotion? Was there a spot where you knew and then you moved to say, we can get you a sample?
It's a gradual process. There are 6 types of questions you need to ask. So when you get in front of someone and they say, well, I do recognize it. So in this case, the guy said, I have all of them. So my job is always to get people to fight for their problems. So the moment someone says, I have all of them, rather than get all excited, say, oh yeah, fucking A, I do the exact opposite. I push them away and I go, no, you can't have. Now he, by the laws of physics, motion, if he's pushing that way, but he's got it and wants to pull back this way, he fights for his problem. I know you can't have all of them. He goes, I do. You see, so by denying, so that is a subtle technique that I use. So as soon as somebody tells me they have a problem, I deny it. If I deny it and they fight for it, I'm already on the step to getting them emotional because we're slowly. So there's all these little things. Then I ask for an example. And then I say, well, you must have tried to fix it. And they often say yes. And I deliberately act as if I've misheard the answer. I go, well, then you must be pleased you fixed it. He goes, no, I said it's not fixed. See, now he said it twice. First time's intellectual, second time's they feel it. When I ask them, how much do you think this problem's cost them? Some can give you a figure, some can't. But if they give you a figure, I deliberately get it wrong. So I've had people say, well, it's easy, cost us 500,000. I go, well, 50,000 is not a lot of money. No, I said 500. So he's saying it twice loud. So you engineer emotion by using questioning techniques that get them. The police do this. The Secret Services do this. They all learn questioning techniques to get people to where they need them to be. That's all I do. Now, I can't get someone emotional unless there is something there, though. So I don't create this out of nothing. If it's not hurting them, if it's not an issue for them, you can't get them emotional. So it's a skill that you have to develop over time, and it's called conversational questioning, and it's something I've got very good at, but it's really hard to get good at because you've got to have a lot of failed conversations.
How many calls do you think that is?
Well, before I started training people, I've been cold calling for 10 years. So I don't know how many hours I've done or how many people I've spoken to, but a lot. And one of the things I learned very quickly is not to be attached to the outcome. So if you're trying to get a meeting, you're trying to get an appointment, you're attached to the wrong thing. And because you're emotionally attached to getting your needs met, you're not doing your job, which is actually listening to the prospect you're talking to. So I flicked it. I only focus on how I get them to agree to me. I don't care if they agree to meet or not. I'm not interested in what happens at the end of the call. I need to make sure that I do everything right to get there. Because if I do it right consistently, I'll start to get consistent outcomes. So the focus for me is on, did I do a good pattern interrupt? Is my 30-second pitch hitting home? Are more people recognizing it than not? Okay, once they've recognized it, am I using the questions that I've got right to move them through? And if they challenge me, how did I come back with it? So I assess and keep practicing. So I focus on how I get there, not the outcome. Just like any professional, the outcome is the outcome. You only control what you do up to the point that the outcome's made. So focus on that. It makes life easier.
Yeah, well said. I've heard you describe it before as well, that you almost need to be like an actor, that you can't just come in and be bland and cold and scripted, but you almost have to deliver the lines the same way Tom Cruise might deliver it in an action movie.
Yeah. A good salesman is an actor and a bit of a psychiatrist. Yeah? And the thing is you're dealing with so many different types of people. Now, people can be slightly pigeonholed. So, for instance, someone that gets to the top in the world of business or in sports or in law or in politics, they have what you call a dominant type of personality. Dominant types of personality. Now, again, it's not set because you can get different types of person to get there, but most statistically will be dominant. Dominant people are short, sharp, and clipped. They come across as unemotional, bit cold and standoffish, but in reality, they're deeply passionate people because you don't get to the top of these things without being passionate. They're just very good at hiding their emotions. They're fast-paced. They want you to cut to the chase. They don't like saying thank you and please. They say thanks. Yeah? So you have to act like that when talking to them. You have to mirror them, as I would say. Now, if I'm talking to someone in HR, completely different kettle of fish. Someone who's dominant is I-centered and selfish, and what's in this for me? Whereas if you're talking to someone in HR, you're talking to someone whose focus is on others, on the team, on morale. They're not interested in what's in it for me. It's how will this make my team and my people better? Yeah? So you got to change how you talk. So that's why recruitment's quite tough, because you get I-centered salespeople, because salespeople are I-centered, talking to other-centric people. And so there's a clash. And the good ones figure out, if I sound more like an HR director, talk like an HR director, act like an HR director, they're more likely to engage with me. So you've got to give the prospect the personality they want and need, not yours. Because you will only meet yours about 20% of the time. Yeah, and so if you look at who you've sold to, you'll start to see a pattern. And most people you sell to are very similar to you. And you get that. People, he's a natural salesman, but look at who he sells to. He sells to people like him. And they go, well, he's good at fight. No, he's just fortunate enough. So find people like you. Once you know your personality, sell products and services to people with your personality. Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, there's a lot of gold in that. One thing that I've also noticed since we've connected now and probably been about a year that I've been following you actively is that you've also developed a very strong presence on YouTube and LinkedIn. And I don't know if one's more successful than the other. I know that you've grown YouTube a lot, but you get a ton of engagement on everything that you do on LinkedIn. What do you think that you're doing that's resonating with people so much on those social media platforms?
My approach to sales has always been to be brutally honest. So I've never come from this from a managerial perspective. I've never come from this from a perspective of the poor little salesman needs help. I've gone into it because I look at my journey. I never wanted to be in sales. I don't want this. I had better plans for my life, right? So losers go into sales. These are people that have no other options or choices in life. Because think about it. If you had other options that were better than selling, would you be in sales?
Well,
no, you wouldn't. Right?
Question.
So I think this is why I resonate with people, because I'm honest. I say, look, I know you're a loser. You know you're a loser. I know you're a loser. The only reason you're here is because you couldn't get any other job. You went to university. You studied gender studies or queer theory, and you realize no one will pay you for this horse shit in the real world. So you're educated. You can string a sentence together, and you don't dribble. You are qualified to enter the world of sales. So that's where we end up. And then you just sit next to someone that's good and try and copy them, or you have some success. And after 3 years, you suddenly realize you're stuck. Because 3 years in, it hits you. I have no transferable skill set. No one ever advertises wanted former salesman. What skill set do you bring? You are stuck in sales. And so then you find yourself in a job you may hate. So you think, I need a new experience. So you look for another sales job paying roughly the same. Yeah? And then after a few years, you're still on the phone. So I speak to that. And I say, look, I know you're a loser. So you've got a choice. You can either stay a loser, or you can admit, I am here. This is my lot in life. So I have two choices. I either just bundle through and keep doing more of the same shit and getting paid an average wage, blowing it all in the weekends and then moaning about how I don't like my life. Or I say, you know what? If I'm stuck here, why don't I get good? And that's all I've done. Like I said, I never wanted to be here. And I literally wrote about this today. Don't follow your dreams. It's a lie. Following your dreams is a lie, because people that tell you to follow your dreams have either made their money or they've given up on their dream. What they don't tell you, the successful ones, is they never followed their dream. What it was is they had a talent that they mastered. And when you master a talent, you become very passionate about it. And then you make your money. So they mastered their skill. A good top lawyers mastered the law. Top surgeons mastered surgery. They have mastered their trade. So sales is the same. If you master selling, it will become passionate about it and you'll make a lot of money. Most salespeople, as I say, don't want to be in sales. So if you don't want to be somewhere, are you going to put in the effort to really master it? No. So then you're stuck averaging it through life. And you'll be okay. You'll always find a job in sales. Yeah, it's not hard, but it's a pathetic existence if you're average in sales.
So why hasn't there been any effort or any organization or any movement towards trying to make people better at sales? Why is it that most of them get into sales and they do just suck at it and they hate it and they can't get out of that rat race? Why is that? Why hasn't it been? Is it just that it's not a respected industry, like you alluded to earlier?
It's because anybody can do it. There is no barrier to entry. So in order to go to law school, you have to hit certain grades. You have to be of a certain disposition. Same with medical school. Same with accountancy. I mean, politics, anyone can go into politics, but you need a certain type of person. Yeah, because it's a hard business. So whilst it's open to anyone, only a certain type of individual has the skill set and the strength to go through. So with sales, though, anyone can get into it. And so because it's open to anyone, there is no standards. You can't regulate it. You can't tell people how to do it. Gift of the gab. If you chuck enough stuff at a wall, something sticks. And that's the whole attitude with selling. Just get out there, scream, get in front of people. People will buy, and they will. So for most people, selling isn't the art of getting people to discover they need what you have. It's just getting money off of someone. And it's not hard to get money off of someone. You can beg, you can negotiate, you can discount, you can rob them, you can rip them off, you can con them. Belfort, he made a fortune out of conning people, right? It is not hard to get money off of human beings. And so because it's not hard to get money off of people, it is the most unregulated, unprofessional, ragbag tag of individuals. And that won't change. And people try to change it, but it won't change it. Corporations don't care. They say they care, but that's for the website. In reality, just hit your fucking target. We don't care how you get there, just hit it. Because that's all that matters. So we have a culture of get the money, yeah, and maybe. Ford, for instance, remember he wanted to create a car that people that made it could afford. How many companies have that approach to their business now? Let's create a product that everyone can afford. Yeah, even the people that work here. Then those types of values that used to be part of capitalism, they've all gone. Yeah, and so now it's just every man for himself, dog eat dog, everyone's screaming at everyone, and just do whatever you can to get over the line. That's my theory, anyway.
Well, you are working diligently to help the people that want to get better. I know. Yeah. So I took one of your courses last year, and I saw that you moved to a membership model for the sales matrix. Yes. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I was selling recordings last year of boot camps that I'd done, which went really, really well. But a lot of people were emailing me saying, are you going to do any other stuff? Are you going to do any new stuff? How do I get more access to more content? And a guy I know who I work with, a guy called Zach from Rebel Websites, he approached me with an idea and he said, what you need to do is create a subscription-based model, put up all your boot camps, refilm it all, put it all up there, but then every month add new content, add little bits here, little bits there, and put it on a monthly subscription. People can come and go as they want. Yeah, create a community. People can upload their calls to me. I do a live Q&A, one-to-one session. So I want to create a community of people that want to get better at sales. So that's what this whole platform's done. And actually, it's done really well. In fact, I'll share this with you because it only happened yesterday. We launched in February. Yesterday, I broke even. So all the time and money that I invested into the platform to get it where it was, I got the dollar equivalent back over the weekend when someone finally purchased. So over 100 people have subscribed in the first 4 months. It's going really well. Everyone's enjoying it. I'm going to keep adding content to it, and I want to grow it. It's going to become a library, a resource for salespeople to go to. Now, not everyone likes it because a lot of people don't like what I do. A lot of people who are too chicken shit to try what I do. I love those people. You get the trolls. These guys are losers, right? They've achieved nothing in their life. So all they do is come online and say, that would never work. This is the biggest bullshit. And it's like, I know I'm dealing with a loser here, right? Because the people that do the stuff, I get more people contacting me saying, I can't believe how well this works. You've changed my life. I can't believe how easy selling's. I love this stuff. Yeah, because you can do it. The ones that can't do it, say it doesn't work. There's a difference between you not being able to do something and it not working. Yeah? Most salespeople try something, it doesn't work, so they give up. Well, this is why you're an average salesperson.
Oh, it's so true, and it's it's simple, but it's not easy. And that's why I think a lot of people struggle with is they almost think that it's easy, is they think they can just go in and make calls, and they don't realize that increasing how productive you are can be the difference between a mediocre salary as a salesman and an exceptional salary.
It's not hard to be a busy fool in sales. It's not hard at all, and most of them are, and they're half-assed. They're not into it. They're not actually. It's like if you're a junior lawyer, you'd want to get really good because you want to move up the ranks. They don't have that drive. It's, I don't even want to be here anyway. I'm still playing the lottery. I'm hoping I'm going to win a bar in Hawaii and I'm going to go run it or something. Yeah. But yeah, they're there because they have to be there. So it's more of a community-based sentence than a career.
So one question that I've been trying to ask people a lot lately, and maybe this is like a good podcast question, but we've covered a lot. And but in 2 episodes now, we've covered a lot in the first one. We covered a lot in the second one. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should have asked you?
That's a good question. I asked that question myself. Is there any question you haven't asked me? Would I advise going into sales? No one ever asked that question. Should I go into sales? And I would say for most people, don't. There's a lot easier ways to make money than sales. Sales is tough, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Most people are just dumped into it, and they get minimal help and minimal support and minimal training, and it's basically sink or swim. The cream will rise to the top. So they hire it. They do a hiring round. They hire in 30. I mean, my first job was in recruitment, a big recruitment company here in the UK, and basically they hired an intake, and I think there were 30 of us, and there's like an 8-week onboarding program, and over those 8 weeks, people get fired or they quit. And at the end of the 8 weeks, I think of the 30, there are only 5 or 6 of us left. That's the process. And at the end of that process, I was still just as shit as I was when I started. Yeah, but I had just survived. And now you are a recruitment consultant. I didn't know anything. And so then I said, now it's Canvas. You just hit the phones, get appointments. No one told you how to do it. No one showed you how to do it. You try and listen to the best people, but you couldn't figure out. And then when you did talk to the best people, why are you good? They could never really tell you. They just said, I've been doing this for many, many years. It's experience. You'll pick it up. Just go out there and do more. It's like, that's the stupidest way to build anything. Just go out there, keep doing more of the same old shit, and eventually you will create something amazing. So I think most people, if you're going into sales because you need a job, that is the wrong reason to be going into sales. And because that's most of you, then I try and find something else. I would look at what is your talent, and I discussed this in a post I did today. You need to find out what your talent is. Because your talent is what you can get good at. And if you master your talent, you may even hate your talent. You may actually have a talent for numbers but hate numbers. But I tell you what, you master that talent. People who are good with numbers, who have a real talent, make a lot of money. Yeah, so you got to ask yourself, where do I want to economically be? Yeah, your hobby, see, your passion could be your hobby, but your hobby may never make enough money to justify you doing it full time unless you somehow become a master of your hobby and you're recognized in the world. Then you'll make a lot of money. So unless you can get to an economic goal with your passion or your love, it's kind of useless. Put it to one side. What is your talent? What are you genuinely good at? And then master that. That's what we're not taught. We're told, follow your dreams, pursue go after your vision, your aim. And some people have done that, but they had the talent required to get there. So the guy, Jeff Bezos, people said he had a vision, a dream. He did, but he also had brilliant skills in order to make that work. His talent was pulling all this stuff together, but he knew where he's going, yeah? So you need the talent. Yeah, unless you're born into the British aristocracy and you're just dumped with land and money, most of you are going to have to go out and make it. And you need talent. Find your talent. Yeah, and for sales, that's not for most people. If you go into it, say, I'm going into it because I want to make this work and I want to get good at it. It's just not a stopgap. That would be my advice.
And that's great advice. So assuming somebody doesn't take your advice and gets into sales, or maybe they just get dumped into it, which is pretty common. I think that is a very common way. How much time would you devote to training and getting better and the non-monetary activities? You're not getting paid when you're training and learning something versus actually being on the phone and calling. What percentage would you recommend to someone that they devote to getting better as opposed to actually doing it in the trenches?
That is a bit of how long's a piece of string, because everybody's different. Everyone picks things up at different rates and different speeds. And so you are going to know your capability of learning. I regard myself as a slowish learner in the fact that I have I have a dominant personality, so which means I get impatient very quickly. So I get impatient, and if something's not working and I know it should work, I get impatient. Then I get angry with myself. Then I get frustrated. Then that ends up delaying my ability to learn because I'm too busy fighting my own emotions. You get other people who aren't emotional like that, and they're able to break things down into the little processes, you know, the competent side. These people become engineers, accountants, solicitors, people like that, because they much more measured. They're slower in how they do things, but they do it more methodically. So they pick up processes. So depending on your personality, you're going to pick up what you learn differently. I'm currently trying to learn how to write differently, write better. I've got a natural ability. I like writing, but LinkedIn has changed. It's changed the type of things you need to write in order to get the engagement. And I've only recently come to this conclusion. So I have a minor talent at writing. So now I've said I need to master writing. I don't really enjoy it as much as I should, but again, when I get good at it, I'll become quite passionate about it. But right now, I'm finding it really frustrating and irritating, and that's slowing me down, and I'm getting writer's block, and I fucking hate this new system of writing. It's bullshit, right? But it works. So I have to make it work. So I'm dedicating hours every week trying to write the goddamn posts that get better engagement, and it's hard. So it's down to you as an individual. But what I know for a fact is if you sit on your laurels and hope and think the world is going to change around you, you're going to get nowhere real quick. So put in as much or as little time as required for you to get better. You don't have to be like, remember at school there was someone, they always got something so quick, and then you measured yourself against them and you thought don't measure yourself against anyone else. Know what you need to do. It could be 2 hours a week. It could be 5 hours. I don't know. But do something.
That's a great message. What does the rest of 2024 look like for you? We're almost halfway through, I suppose.
Yeah. So the first half was getting this platform up and running and creating content. This keeps me busy, actually. I thought I was going to be able to relax. But the filming regime, because I've got to create content now for YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. So I've got to create content for that. So that takes up time. I'm learning this writing thing. So I have to write every day. I have to write newsletters. I have to write posts. I have to write drip campaign. So I honestly thought I'd be doing less work. And I was moaning the other days, how is it a man that works for himself and has done well as a diary so full? So I'm keeping busy. I'm looking into AI as well. That's going to be incorporated into the platform. So you're going to be able to talk to an AI bot that's going to be rude and blunt like me back to you. So that'll be quite cool. So I've got a lot on my plate. But this year is just growing this platform, filling it with great content and expanding my reach, reinstituting the British Empire.
Well, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of yours. I really do appreciate you taking the time out of. I know how busy your schedule is. So what I'd like to close with, I'll give you the last word. But what I want to close with is to encourage everybody to follow you on YouTube and LinkedIn. I haven't followed. I'm not big on either Instagram or TikTok, so I can't speak to those ones. But what you put out on those two platforms are incredible. And if somebody does want to take their business to the next level, I would highly encourage you to invest in your platform. I'll put a link to that in the description, and I'd highly encourage someone, if they want to go to the next level. In my mind, you are the greatest sales trainer I've come across, and I've had the fortune of interviewing a lot of great ones. And you're at the top of that list. So I would strongly encourage people to do it.
I'll take that. That's a stroke, as they say. That's ego stroke right there.
I'm a big fan. I unapologetically a big fan. So thank you once again. I'll leave the final word to you.
The final word I would say is this. You have two choices in sales. You can either be an amateur or a professional. Yeah, and if you're an amateur, be prepared for mediocrity. Be prepared to never really get that kick out of it. But if you want to be a professional, then say to yourself, I want to master this, and master it. And I can help you with that. Loads of other people are going to help you with that. It doesn't have to be me. I recommend me, but find someone that is good and learn how to do this, because this is a terribly lonely, depressing place if you're doing poorly. Sales sucks. And when you're sitting at your desk and you're not making the money that you want and you've got all these pressures on you, and you also know you don't have any other options. See, if you quit your job today, what are you going to do? Unless it's look for another sales job. But you don't want to retrain as a nurse. You don't want to retrain as a teacher. You don't want to retrain as a barista. You don't want to go to law school. You don't want to be so unless you got something else that you want to go into and train to, you're stuck in sales. So you have a choice. Either get good at it or get out. Find your talent.
Those are wise words. Benjamin, thank you once again. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I've loved it. It's been a pleasure.